was like, oh my God, these people don't really give a shit about the kids. And then when the characters come out, like Mickey and Minnie and Donald and everyone come out, and you see these grown men and women, like their faces just light up. And it was like, I looked at them and I realized they've been waiting like 35 years for this. They've been waiting like a whole lifetime for this. And it's like they have had the same dream as these little kids and they've carried it all of these years because your childhood dreams never die. They just grow with you. And when I looked at them and I realized this, I was like, how beautiful it is to do things that you've always wanted to do as a child, to recreate moments or just to like tangibly have and do things that you've always wanted to do is it's so amazing, and it's so special as an adult to treat yourself that way and to honor your inner child.
So I'm so excited to have Susan on my Curious Bee podcast. I have been watching Susan for a while. We've got like a mutual mentor, and as I said, I've been watching and seeing you in your amazing outfits and the big pink dress with the big pink bow. And it's interesting because you are so like different to me. And I'm like, how do you do that? And something you're quietly witnessing, in you these amazing outfits. And the other day, as you do, you peruse across the Instagram grid, and I saw your whole retitling of being this inner child craft. And it was just, there was something like so magnetic about that I'd seen that and how aligned it was for you. And I saw the little workshops and all the stickers and this total like your clothing's amazing with your choice and how you put it together, and then seeing this radiance of color and pure joy. And I was so intrigued, Susan, to talk to you about how you landed. So fill me in on what we call it a trade, or what do you do for a job? But I prefer, what's your story? So I'm handing the mic, my beautiful, beautiful sister from the other side of the ditch over in Aussie, to you.
Okay, so I've always been a creative kid, and when I was younger, I always wanted to be a designer in fashion. And I studied fashion at East Sydney, and I became a junior designer after 8 months of being an assistant. And I fell into it quite quickly. I worked really hard, and I loved it. It was at a time when everything was being manufactured here, and it was really hands-on. So it was really tactile. Like, it wasn't like Pinterest boards and, everything on the screen. Like, we would cut out of like Italian Vogue and we'd stick it together. And, the fabric guys would come over and show us the fabrics, and we would pick everything, and it was really tactile. And, I would go out as an assistant, and I would go to the dye houses, and I would see everything made. And it was everything that I wanted, and it was really beautiful, and it was really fun. And then, as you know, everything went offshore, so everything started getting made in China, and a lot of the creativity went as well. And I found that I was just doing everything off emails. So it was like just approving everything off emails, and they were putting it on a dummy, and I would just have to like say it was okay. So it lost that tactile element of it. And I had children, so I had my first, and I came back after 9 months, and I got made redundant, which was such a kick in the teeth, because it wasn't just, I didn't just lose my job, I lost my sense of identity. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I loved it. I worked really hard, and I lost that. I didn't know, like what you're saying, like what's your trade? Like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was calling myself. And even when I fell into online publishing, and even when I was doing that, I would, if I met you for the first time, I would probably tell you that I used to work in fashion because that's how I like identified myself in my work. And I did. I worked for digital publishers. I think I worked for three. I went from one to the other, and I was just in this sort of stage where I didn't love it, but I knew what I was doing, and it paid the bills, which isn't quite as joyous as doing something that you love. Had young children, and it was all about flexibility because I was able to work from home some days, and it just sort of got into this like thing where like I remember asking a colleague at work, she was a little bit older than me, she had three girls, and I was like, is this it? We just like get up, go to work, drive the same way, come home, make dinner, and then like watch Netflix and go to bed and do it all over again. I was like, surely there's more to this. And she said to me, yeah, it'll get a little bit easier as your kids get older, but like that's sort of it. And I was like, I guess I sort of always felt like there had to be more to this life than just like existing and just doing the to-do list. I it would have been a couple of years ago now, and my husband had an accident. He technically drowned in a pool, and he was resuscitated and brought back to life. I was there to witness it, and it was horrific in every way. My girls were there, my family were there, and I remember sitting in the ambulance, and the paramedic said to me, "You can ask me anything you want." And I didn't want to ask the questions. I didn't want to ask, I didn't want him to. And I was like, "Can you just put the siren on?" And he put the siren on, and we just sort of sat in silence. And I remember being in the hospital, and I really didn't know whether I was like with a ghost or not because what I witnessed was so real. And I remember just like sitting there, and Chris was in the hospital. He's in ICU. He literally had drowned like hours before, and he was just talking about all the things that he wanted to do in his life. And I was like, are you for real? Like, I was in just disbelief, but it was like, when they say when you have a near-death experience, you just want to do all the things that you didn't get to do. You want to do all the things that you really wanted to, but you held back because you were worried about what people think. And it's like when you get there, you just have this real hunger for it. So, long story short, he made a full recovery, and it was like I was really not okay for quite a while with it because of what I witnessed, and it was really, quite traumatizing. And also, he'd just come out of ICU, and my girls were there, so I didn't know how they were going to respond because it's almost like I wanted them to talk about it, but I didn't. I don't know how they're going to take it in, so I don't want to like be talking about it too much as well. So just being there for them and for my husband, but just for me, I was having really horrific nightmares for a long time, and I couldn't fall asleep unless I was touching him. And then I would wake up in the night to make sure that he wasn't cold because I had felt that when I was poolside with him. And it was really hard, and I thought, it's okay, this is the worst you'll get. So then a couple of months later, I was working for a tech company of all places, and I came up to my 6-month probation, and I didn't pass. And so I had lost my job. I nearly lost my husband. I lost my job 2 months later, and I was like, shit. And Chris had been in business with his business partner for 21 years, and then dropped this bombshell of a conversation, and they separated ways, and all of that started happening. And it was just like, oh my God, just seems like so chaotic. Like when you think you're at the bottom and then you're like, trying to get out. Anyway, I look at it now and I feel like it was, for me, my disco ball moment. It was like, I saw it then as all of the pieces falling apart, but really it was coming together because what happened after that, Chris and I started working on our business together, and we did all the things. So it's like when you realize how short life is, you book the trip. So we booked the trip when we went in December. We've always wanted to take the girls to Lapland and to meet Santa and to do all of those amazing things, like, you know, have like a a white Christmas, and just I really sort of was asking myself how I can bring joy into my life, because I guess in this time I sought a lot of therapy. I did a lot of personal development, and when you can always get addicted to it, because you know, it was like, oh, like you speak to someone and they're like a Reiki healer. It's like, oh, I'll go see you. And then you meet someone else and they're a hypnotist. You want to get hypnotized and you want to do all these things. But it's almost like cementing the fact that like there's something wrong with you or that you need to be fixed. And, you know, I would go and pour my heart out, and I'd feel really good because I'd have a big cry, and then I'd come back to myself. And then it was like, oh, you know, feeling like myself again after a while. And it was like, I realized it was like, you can go to therapy for an hour a week every week. But what about all of the other times, like when you're falling asleep and all of the 60,000 thoughts that you have in a day? That's on me. So it was like I was giving away my power to heal myself. And I really came back into the present moment. And my girls really helped me with this through play and through being present, because when you're sitting in front of a Barbie house with Barbies and, you know, you're trying to make a miniature meal and things like that. And it was like, this is so joyous, and you can't be worried about the past or future pacing, you know, some wild thing when you're just trying to put these little, you know, little meals on tiny plates in Barbie's home. And I feel like they really taught me how to play. And it was something that as an adult, and especially women who just do all of the things, we're always doing stuff. And it's like, you know, we're not human doings, we're human beings. And to allow myself to just be, you know, an emotional wreck one day and play with Barbie the next and make a beautiful cake the next day and just be really obsessed with the present moment is what really sort of got me through. But I wanted to share about our trip to Lapland, because we went to Europe for 4 weeks. It was a 6-week trip all up. We bookended it with Bali. And we were in Paris, and we had always planned to go to Disneyland, but because it was raining, we didn't know what day we were going to go. And we woke up and we were like, this is it. We're going to go today. We'll tell the girls. So we told the girls, and we're really excited. And we walk into Disneyland, and it was really sunny and really beautiful. And I don't know if you've ever been to Disneyland, but it is such a beautiful space. Like the lawns manicured, all of the floral arrangements are really beautiful. Everything's really beautiful. And I noticed that there were just as many adults without children as there were with children. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Because years it was my 30th birthday, I actually went to LA and we went to Disneyland, and I really enjoyed it. And this time I remember, you know, my daughter looking at me, and she said, oh, Mum's crying again. And she's like, happy tears? And I said, yes, because I've always wanted to take them. And I actually don't remember the colours when I was when I was 30 and I went, but the castle in Paris is pink, and I saw it and I literally just wept and I was like, oh my God, so, so, so beautiful. And I was like trying to hold it together, and my daughter just saw me in tears, and I was like, it's just so beautiful. And I was like, even the garbage bins are pink. They're like ornately decorated. They're really beautiful. And I even thought, Susan, we're not going to cry over the pink bins. And I was like, yes, yes, we are. We're going to cry over the pink bins because it is so beautiful. And I've always wanted to take my girls, but I always wanted to go for me. Like, you know, as a child, it was always a childhood dream of mine. And as the day went on, it started to get really cold and it was drizzling all day, and we were not prepared. Like, we wouldn't have been prepared for the weather unless we were in ski gear. Like, it was that cold. And my girls were like, Mum, when are we going to go? And I'm like, We've spent a lifetime trying to get here. Don't ask me again. We're not going. We're going to wait till the 4:30 parade when we see all of the characters." So they were like, "So, Mum, what are we going to do next?" And, it was cold and it was like, getting grey and really dark. And I'm still in the moment. Like, I am still like, swanning around. I see Belle over there and like, really in this dreamlike state. And they're like shivering, freezing. They're like, what the heck? And we get to the 4:30 parade and I see all of these. So everybody lines up pretty early and all of the kids are at the front. And then all of these adults come and like stand in front of them. And I was like, oh my God, these people don't really give a shit about the kids. And then when the characters come out, like Mickey and Minnie and Donald and everyone come out, and you see these grown men and women, like their faces just light up. And it was like, I looked at them and I realized they've been waiting like 35 years for this. They've been waiting like a whole lifetime for this. And it's like, they have had the same dream as these little kids and they've carried it all of these years because your childhood dreams never die. They just grow with you. And when I looked at them and I realized this, I was like, how beautiful it is to do things that you've always wanted to do as a child, to recreate moments or just to like tangibly have and do things that you've always wanted to do is so it's so amazing and it's so special as an adult to treat yourself that way and to honor your inner child. And we went on and we went to Lapland and we met Santa. And I, it was like I just wanted it to be perfect. Like, I remember that day and it was really stressful. We had to change from the igloo to the cabin and we couldn't find our room and it was minus 20 degrees. So I remember calling Chris and I said, why are you taking so long? He said, I can't find the cabin. I said, just leave it. And he said, I can't leave the suitcases out in minus 20. They're just going to like crack and freeze. So and I was like, they're not going to wait for us. And he's like, just go. And I said, no, we're not going to do this like without you. Like, we have to all meet Santa like together. And anyway, the woman came out and she said, is everyone here? And I said, no, my husband's not here yet. I just like burst into tears. And I remember my 7-year-old just like patting me and just like, Mum, it's okay. And I was like, no, I just wanted it to be so perfect. Anyway, elves came. Chris finally came and took us to a little elf kitchen and we sat down and we rolled out gingerbread cookies to bake. So they were in the oven and we could smell it and they started playing Mariah Carey's that Christmas song and I just burst into tears. And I thought, you know what, I am at a point where I cannot control the situation. If Santa comes out and he looks like a 25-year-old guy, I can't control the outcome. I've got us here and that's it. So I just had to I just had to let go of all my expectations from here on. And I'm so glad I did because I just had the best time. We sang with the elves, we danced with the elves out in the snow, just to warm up. And there were 3 families and we had about 20 minutes each with Santa. And we sat on the back of a reindeer sleigh, took us up to Santa's house. We stamp our feet to like let Santa know that we're here, and he comes out and he is standing there in his like red suit and his long beard, and he said, and he knew my girls' names, like he knew which one was Shayla and which one's Frankie, and he said hi to them, hi Mum and Dad, and I was like, oh my God. And we went in and the letters that we wrote that I posted to him were all laid out. They were written on Hello Kitty paper and it was under the candlelight. So the letters that the girls wrote were there. And we sat down and across from him and he said, ask me any questions that you want. And we all just sat there just stunned. Didn't ask him anything. And now we've got like a list at home. We're like, oh, if we see Santa again, we're going to ask him all these things. Like, how does he do it? What does he do? Where does he go first? And he said, who's looking after Rufus, our dog? And the girls are like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, this is so good. So we talked about the dog, and at the end he gave the girls a little present, which is never coincidentally happened to be what they wanted in the gift shop. But I was like, no, we already bought the big husky. You don't need the little one. But they got the little husky. And then he gave me, and he's like, Mum and Dad, I have a present for you. And I literally wept. I was like, oh my God, Santa's got a present for me. And I took a photo with him, and I've still got it. And it is so beautiful because as a child, being being Chinese Cambodian, we didn't grow up learning about Santa or like celebrating Santa, and we didn't have Christmas. And I knew about Santa through my neighbor, and she told me all about it. And she said, if you wish for it every night, it would like a present will appear on Christmas Day. And I remember I was probably about 8, wished for a present every day, and then Christmas Day came and nothing happened. And I remember being upset, and I was telling my mum, and she said, oh, we don't celebrate Christmas. We have like Chinese New Year and stuff like that. And I always felt like I missed out because of my like culture and heritage. And, it felt really unfair. And me meeting Santa as a 43-year-old grown woman was just so healing. And it was like, this is so perfect in every single way. And I was so, it was like everything that I wanted for the girls, but in actual fact, it was everything I wanted for little me. And the things that we did on the trip, like we went on the back of huskies, and the 4 of us, and, being dragged on the snow by 6 huskies. And I've got like a 20-minute video, and I am literally hysterically laughing the entire way. And every day I woke up and it was so beautiful, and our experiences were like out of this world. And I just cried like happy tears every day. And I wanted this trip to be so perfect for the girls and like to have all these magical experiences. But I realized I did it for myself as well. I did it for my inner child, and she was just so happy. Because as a child, we grew up with very little. We didn't have like, holidays. We didn't even travel like within the state, let alone overseas. So all of that was so, so magical.
So cool. So cool. Yeah, just like hearing you say about the adults and
Yeah.
how they were like more they would wait forever even if they had to stay overnight. It's like
Yeah.
they would line up for an iPhone, right? The newest thing. And the kids are like, when are we going? That's just so yeah, just such a like a take home like from your beautiful words. And yeah, it's just so yeah, we just kind of fall into this rut as adults, of yeah, just life's so serious, so serious. And even
Yeah.
my son keeps saying to me like, "Geez, mum, why do you adults have to everything has to be so perfect?" And so,
Mm.
just don't overthink it. Like, you know, just do it. Like, and it's so oh my goodness, it's so true, just have fun with it. And it's kind of what I am making sure that I keep doing with even this podcast. I'm like, I'm just not going to overthink it. And because then you just, like, we've got to have fun. We've got to play. And that's when our brilliance, like, comes through. And that's what's really happened for you, and I'd love
Mm.
to, love you to share, like, what I kind of call it that thing that came through, whether you call it a channel
Yeah.
or a download, what that next thing was that happened, when you landed. Like, I'd love to hear
Yeah.
how that came through transmission. Go use all these little words that
Yeah.
describe how it is for yeah for us, like because it's kind of happened to me too. Like, yeah, how did that land for you?
So when we came back from the trip, I'll often ask myself, because that very question was like, there has to be more to life than just finding a job that you can do and you just do it and then that's it. And, you have children or keep your home and all of those sort of things. I, it's almost like I didn't just break it down from like what happened at Disneyland. I literally woke up and I saw it. I saw it all. I saw women sitting together, women playing, women laughing, women connecting together and with themselves as well. And I I couldn't ignore it. And I feel like I've had, being a creative, being lots of different ideas throughout, my years. And it's so quick to shut it down. Like you can be like, oh, it's going to cost too much, or I don't have time to do that. And this just felt really electric. It really lit me up. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to do it. And I was like, well, how am I going to do it? And I was like, I'll just have a trial run. So I got back at the end of January and I sent my 5 best friends a save the date for Valentine's Day. And I was like, I'm launching something. Come to my house on Valentine's Day. Let me know if you can make it. They were all able to make it. And then I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it was like, just trusting myself that I knew what I had to do. And it came together quite easily and basically got some journals. I got an abundance of stickers, prepped some food, put some fairy floss in Prosecco, and just got everybody to come. And we sat around and it was just so fun. And it was like, I think as women, especially high achieving women, we have such a desire for everything to be perfect. And just to also, like with stickers, the reason why I chose stickers was because as a child, I didn't have them in abundance. As a now 44-year-old woman, I still have my favorite stickers from when I was a kid because they were so precious. I didn't want to stick them down. And they're not even that cute. They don't even stick anymore, but I still have them. And it's like, so we all had a journal. I was like, you can cover the journal any which way with as many stickers as you want. And a dear friend of mine, like, we passed around the stickers and she just took 3. And I put my hand on hers and I said, you can have more than 3 stickers. And she was like, it's too much. I can't do this. Because she didn't have stickers in abundance. She was never allowed to just stick them everywhere. Like it was just so precious. And I feel like the way that you have your stickers as a kid says so much about your money story as an adult. And it was like, I've really had to work on my money story because I was in scarcity mode because it really was scarce as a kid. Like not only stickers, but like money and all of these sort of things and having new clothes and, to really honor that and to really gift myself what I didn't have in abundance is so magical. And, not from anyone else, not from my parents or anyone, but like to do that for myself is really, really special. So it was like you can have it all. Like you can have the stickers and you can put them anywhere you want. And we also did a little beautiful meditation just to connect with your inner child. And I've done a bit of inner child work and it can be really dark and it can be really heavy, but you can also rewrite it so that you, in a certain situation, you can change it. And, she can, like, I had this really beautiful inner child session one day and I was sitting in the backyard. I was 6 years old and my neighbor had Barbie. She had the house, she had peaches and cream, she had it all. I only have had 2 Barbies in my lifetime, rock and roll Barbie and ballerina Barbie. And I just wanted what she wanted. Like for me, peaches and cream with the like over the top, like peachy shawl was just like everything. And in this inner child healing session she said, what do you want? And I said, I just want peaches and cream. And she said, create a scenario where you're gifted her or you are able to have her. So I imagined that my neighbor just gave it to me because she had so many other Barbies. And I took it and I just sat with her and she said to me, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I feel like she's going to be taken away." And it was almost like I didn't feel like I was worthy of her because I've never had anything so beautiful or so special. And she said, "You're allowed to have her. You can take her and put her in your childhood bedroom and, find a special place for her." So, in my mind's eye, I did. I put her on my bedroom shelf, and I remember coming out of it and just like being like so emotional because I was able to give my inner child something that she always wanted, but I didn't realize I'd been carrying this story that I'm not worthy of, you know, peaches and cream Barbie. But it's not only about the Barbie, but other things that I strive for in my life, where you self sabotage and you do all these wonderful things that you do as an adult, and it was a really big thing for me. So afterwards, I was like, I'm an adult. I can have whatever I want. And I went on this journey to find Peaches and Cream Barbie. And it was just before the Barbie movie came out. And I joined this Facebook group and I was searching for Peaches and Cream and I found her. She was 1985, brand new in the box. And she was from the States and she was 25 US dollars. And I was like, I'll take her. I will take her. It cost me 65 US dollars to get her shipped. And I got her. So now she sits in my bedroom and she is so beautiful. She has all of the original accessories. Barbie used to come with this printed catalogue of all of the Barbies. And I remember I used to fold it all out and look at it. And now I have it. And it lights me up in every single way. But the woman that I bought it from, because I had shared on social that I was looking for Barbie and like had the story of my inner child always wanting her, she said, "I don't mean to be a weirdo, but I saw your story and I'm really glad that you have the Barbie that you've always wanted." And she said, "Do you want to be my pen pal?" And I was like, yes. So we handwrite letters to each other, and it is so special that it's come from this experience of like wanting and being able to give my inner child Peaches and Cream Barbie. But I often now, if I'm out and I see something, especially in thrift stores, I love thrifting. I'll see something like I recently bought strawberry shortcake and she smells like strawberries. And it was like, whenever you honor your inner child and you gift to her what you've always wanted, magic happens. Like, I don't know like what other way to explain it. It's like so soul nourishing when you're able to give something that you've always wanted, and it doesn't matter how old you are, to be able to do that for yourself is just magic. It's really beautiful.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Like there's like every time I looked away, I'm like there's these memories dropping in. Oh my goodness. Because yeah, we're like 5 years on you, so like but we're very much the same generation. I remember the smell of strawberry shortcake. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. And the sticker story, so relatable. And I have shared that on I've shared a few of my Instagram stories, and it is on one of my podcasts because my first money story. And this is like there's a real soul connection between us and stickers, Susan.
Mm.
So my first money experience, Mum had given my sister and I our first pocket money, and there was a shop down the road that had stickers and crafts and this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my sister and I had gone down there. I'd come back with all these stickers, and Mum had said, "You spent all your money." And I remember like this really sick feeling, really sick. Oh, like, and like to this day, I was very, I was very, very minimal with my sticker, and I, and I overthought every single one before I applied them. In all my school books, I've got a big sticker memory. All my school books had stickers on them, and every page was crafted. Like I spent hours decorating my books. And I said to Mum the other day, "Have you got any of my books?" And she said no. And I was like, I just want to see them. But I love stickers. I've still got my rubbers, my erasers. I loved all the fancy
Yeah.
erasers that, were like ice creams, and my son found those, and I've still got those, so they're safe. But yeah, the sticker money story is
Yeah.
my money story. And now when I spend, I've got to get this healed. But it has served me well. I've shared that it served me really well because I decide, do I need it? Is it the right one? Da, da, da. And even when I go clothes shopping, that's why I look at you in awe. When I went clothes shopping, I'd go and I'd try everything on, and then I'd get them to hold them all overnight, and then I'd go back the next day and I'd retry them all on, overthink the whole thing because here's my money story playing out, right?
Yeah.
And my sticker story. So interesting. So
I feel
interesting.
like there's a big tie-in with clothing intuitively. Like I think because I worked in fashion for such a long time and it was like part of like mass production and being a big problem, being part of the problem in like us having now six generations of clothing on this earth at this current time, which is just mind blowing. And I love thrifting. And what I love about thrifting is, just because blue's trending at the moment and everything's a sea of blue, it's not. It is whatever is there. And there is there's something about when you walk past a rack and there's always, certain colors or certain textures that stick out and you're like, oh, I love that. And then you pull it out and it's like, oh my God, it's just like in my size. And you put it on and it's like amazing. And it's like, that's your intuition. That's you not overthinking it and just pulling it out because you love it and you don't even know why. And you put it on and it feels and looks amazing. And it's like that first bit of intuition is you. It's you at your core loving it. And then when you pull more and more out and then you sort of second guess what you first loved. Because I find like when you get dressed and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to wear? You always, 7 outfits later, you always end up at the first one. And I think that's because you've intuitively decided from the get go. But especially as a woman, is sort of like, you've been told all the things that you should be doing and like dressing for your color and, dressing for your body shape and all of those sort of things. And it's like, you knew from the very beginning. You just have to trust it more. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I
And I
love.
feel like that comes from like permission,
Mm. It's
always like
always it's always the
asking.
first one though. I find that with
Yeah.
as a designer as well, being a graphic designer by trade, it's always the first, and even just in life, like when you follow your intuition, it's generally the first thing.
Yeah.
It gets to be that simple, eh? It really does. Yeah,
Mm.
it's so cool. It's like I think we've made life this so complex, and I love what you said about the human being, not the
Yeah.
human doing. That's something that's just come to me over the weekend watching like a big deep dive, huge deep dive, but that's another whole subject on how we're coming back, as humans to remembering that we're just here to be,
Mm.
and just yeah, just we're unraveling just everything that's happened, and it's it's really exciting. It's super exciting.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would love you to share is it's so cool is around the archetypes,
Yeah.
fashion archetypes, because
Yeah.
that is like you've touched on it by saying about just the intuition and going with it, not thinking about what your colors are, because otherwise you
Mm.
just get yourself in another box. And because some days you might feel like, oh my goodness, I feel like I want to feel really, and we're women and we also have a cycle. So some days we just want to be at home in our trackies, and that's totally where we are. And other times we want to be like, you know, strutting our stuff as a
Yeah.
woman. And I would love you to share about the archetypes because it's super cool. Like it's super cool, and the experiences you had
Yeah.
by actually dressing and how that played out for you.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty
I guess
cool.
like in terms of dressing for me, I've always because I worked in fashion, I feel like quite young I dressed for the job that I wanted. And, I would like try to look sophisticated and wear high heels to work and would spend a lot of money on clothes and like, design accessories and all of that. And it was after Chris's accident and I was in this job that I didn't like. And I've always loved pink because I'm a real girly girl. But I never used to wear a lot of it. I used to just, wear whatever you're supposed to wear in like a corporate office. And I remember that day that I had my 6 month review, I wore my pink coat. It's like really bright pink. I've had it for like at least 15 years and it is still in immaculate condition. And I remember after I lost my job and I was standing in Martin Place and I had called my husband in tears. And then I thought, I really wish I didn't wear this coat today because I didn't want, because clothing holds energy. And sometimes when you don't gravitate to something in your wardrobe, it's because on some sort subconscious level, it reminds you of a bad experience. And sometimes it's not really obvious, but if you hold the garment and you ask yourself, then something may come up. And I'm quite conscious of that. And I was like, oh, I really wish I wouldn't have worn my like favorite jacket. And now I look back because losing my job was the best thing that ever happened. And because I was no longer in like a corporate role, I was like, I can wear whatever I want. Like I can dress however I want. And it's like, and I also learned about like archetypes and it's like, it's so powerful. And it's, you can, well, like when you wake up and you feel good and you wear something that looks really like, it makes you feel sexy and makes you feel good. And I would pick an archetype, and I would usually choose between the queen and the lover. And the lover is, I think, like being in a long term relationship is not about like being sexual. It's about being seen as a woman and not a mother, not somebody who like cooks all the meals, not somebody's wife, but just as a woman, like in my feminine. And it would be as simple as like wearing a dress with like lacy underwear that you wouldn't normally wear. And it's funny when you decide that and you like energetically embed that and then you walk out and you go get a coffee and then all of a sudden the coffee boy's really flirtatious with you or you get a free coffee or people will compliment you. And it's almost like you realize that you have like the magic exists in this world. Like it's not just you going to do the task and going to get groceries and you bring it back and you wash it. Like it's not just that. It's like leaving room for magic. Like this was not the weekend just passed, but the week before because it's suddenly quite cold in Sydney, I put on my pink leather jacket and I was like, this is a total queen vibe. And I realized I actually don't have a lot of like casual clothes. Like everything's like put together. And then I was like, all my shoes have like all my boots have some sort of like gold studs on them or something, They look quite like rock and roll. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to wear it. It doesn't matter if it's 9 in the morning. So I put on the pink jacket just with a pair of jeans and my gold studded boots. And I went to get a coffee. And this guy who had, was, the bike riders that wear the like tight fitting, had that on with a helmet. And he came up to like order a coffee and he was standing behind me and he said, you look like a total rock star. And I said, thank you. And he said, that pink jacket is just like so cool. And I said, thank you. So I went from the coffee shop to the organics market to buy my fruit and veg. I walk in and this woman said to me, you look so lovely in the pink jacket. And I said, thank you. And then another woman said to me, you just look so beautiful. And this is like, 9:30 in the morning just at the organics market. And then when I was buying my fruit and veg, the woman I've already paid and she gave me like a handful of mandarins. And I walked out and I was like, oh my God, I just like have been like showered with compliments. I've been given like free mandarins. And it's not about the compliments. It's the fact that the world is mirroring what I'm putting out there energetically. And when you sort of realize that you can do that, it feels magical. Like it feels like there's more to this life than just going to get the fruit and veg. And it's a really nice space to play in because it just happens and it's unplanned and it feels really electric. So I totally recommend it because it feels really magnetic when you do it.
Mm.
And I'm not so literal in my intentions anymore. I just sort of put it on. I'm like, total queen, let's go.
Oh, it's so cool. It's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I'm just learning because I just yeah feel my mum was like like I don't wear makeup. Like my mum never wore makeup, and I don't know. I feel like I missed that bit. I missed that total chapter, total chapter of like dressing.
Yeah.
It's just the way that my life. I just never. It was something I never used to express myself. I guess I was
Mm.
so entrenched in creating beauty through design
Yeah.
that yeah, it's interesting. I like that was my way of like expressing,
Mm.
unpacking this as I talk. Yeah, but yeah, if you were in New Zealand, I'm gonna have to fly over. Yeah, I like to be able to bring my little picture of Belinda to one of your
Yeah.
inner child events. And when you do a thrift shop one and like dressing in, and having that whole inner child experience
Yeah.
with dress,
Mm.
then that's so cool. That is just, I'm so up for that because you just gotta have fun. Like you just have to have fun and I love the experience of yeah that just go out wear whatever even if it's like sometimes I'll get too well dressed because I now I'm starting to play I'm starting to put my toes in the water and I'll wear something really nice down the beach because I'm like well I'm not going anywhere because I'm quite remote now
Yeah.
but why not
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
feels good and then you come back and you get your track pants back on
Yeah.
life's for living and yeah, no, it's so cool. And I just wanted to there's another little thing I really wanted to for you to share is that so your beautiful craft workshop, so you've got another one coming up, and you are and it's really clever. I love the way you're using bookshops
Mm.
after hours. That's I've been actually thinking about that this morning, how much of an opportunity there actually is for all these businesses that have such a short pocket of opening of like us light workers us people who are doing this really healing work on this creative spectrum this yeah, actually, how, yeah, thinking about these locations and venues because there is such a huge opportunity there, and the
Yeah.
thrift shop, after hours, it becomes like this amazing stage, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
it's like a theater with a dressing room, like with a wardrobe. Hey, like oh my goodness, I'm so excited about the possibility, and yeah, it's really it's time just to kind of like just throw it all out and go and what are they what do you say like spaghetti against a wall like
Yeah.
how can we just do this differently because why not
Mm.
why not and I would like love you to share like the impact because when I was talking to you the other day you were like well I'm not a healer like none of us are healers we're just here to create an environment
Mm.
that helps people remember right
Yeah.
that's so beautiful and I would love to share love not me. I would love for you to share the just some of the impact stories, some of those things that
Mm.
have happened from your workshops where people have come to you and they've just it's beautiful because you're not scrapbooking, you're not you're not a painting class or an art therapy class. Like I love the way it's just so unique. And so people are coming along and they don't have an expectation and that is really, really I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean. That's just such a, I know, that's a really great place to step into something when you've got no idea, you know.
Yeah,
And I'd love you to share, like, yeah, the some of the stories because I love stories
yeah.
that have happened. Just you've done three, right?
I've done two.
Two.
Yeah.
The third one's coming. Yeah, of yeah, that the impact that the ripple effect
Mm,
of your work.
yeah. It's funny. It's like I've only done two, but it's like, it feels like it's lifetime work. Like it feels easy and it feels in flow, but I feel like that's because I've had the life experience that I've had. And I remember when I was like, oh, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to find a venue. And my friend and I went for a walk and we're like, okay, we're going to do this and this because she's setting up her business too. And she's like, what are you going to do this week? I said, I'm just going to ask 5 venues if I can have it there at night. And the first one I asked, and they said, yeah, you can just pick your night. And I was like, oh, that was easy. I was like, and then just like that, and that's just the way it sort of happened. Like I've believe so much in like when you are doing what you're supposed to do that the universe really backs you. I've, just like literally chance meetings of like meeting people and then they're like, oh, I've got this, you can use the thrift warehouse if you want to do an event. And I was like, oh. And, I've literally like, I'm having an aerial bookshop and I met this young girl, she's 15, and she said, I'll help you. And I was like, you are like an angel. It's just like really amazing how things just sort of fall into place. And I remember when I had my first one, I had three intentions, and it was to connect with your inner child, connect with other women. Because I feel like if, like, women our age, is like, I don't know, I'm just not really into like going out and being in a really crowded, noisy place and then trying to connect with someone over, 7 alcoholic drinks. Like, all fun and well, but like, that's not my thing to do. And it's like, well, if you don't do that, how else do you meet other women who are like minded? And it's like I can't be bothered with small talk and things like that. Like you know what the weather's like. I know what it's like. I don't know what to talk about it. You know what I mean? And because it's called Inner Child, I feel like it's attracted a lot of people in self development. And the reason why it's like intertwined with craft is because it's a light, joyous experience. We're not here to like dig up all the wounds, like especially women who are already into self development. They've been digging it up for years. You don't need another place to dig it up. And it's like, I just wanted to create this safe space for women to literally just come together and to simply play. And I ask for everybody to come to find a photo of themselves as a child and to bring that with them. I've had women who, I have two dear friends who I met at the first workshop, and they came with other people, but they were hanging out together. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize you guys knew each other. And they're like, no, we met at your workshop. But they've become like besties. And I was like, this is the coolest thing on earth. And I also had another woman who, her mother had given away her Cabbage Patch doll without letting her know when she was a child. So she's always like wanted one. And she started after the workshop, she started sending me photos of Cabbage Patch dolls, like off eBay. And she said, I'm going to get one. I'm going to get this one. And I said, did you always want to buy a Cabbage Patch doll as a 51-year-old woman or like since the workshop? And she said, actually always wanted one, but I always felt silly in wanting one. And she said, your workshop just gave me permission to have her. So she bought her and she got it and she sent me photos, and it's like, it lights her up and it's like so special. But going back to the photo and, the process is normally like going to your parents' house and going through the photo albums or like, finding them. Like it's a bit of an adventure to find them. I had one of the women said to me, I don't know if you intended this, but the process of finding a photo is really special. And she's been in hospitality for like the last 10 years. And now all she wants to do is take people on nature walks. And when she was looking for photos of herself, she, as a child, was always in nature. So she's like picking flowers, sitting in the woods, like rolling on the grass and being in nature. And it's like, for her, it's like coming back to herself. And when she told me, I was like, I think, I didn't realize how deep the work was. And she is also really critical of herself. And she's really, like, her self talk can be really quite harsh. But the photo that she found, she has it up in her bedroom. And whenever she makes big decisions, she'll ask herself what little her would choose, because she would never judge little her on not doing enough or not being enough or being at a certain place in life because she's little. So to be able to have that grace as an adult and to consider her is really, really beautiful. So it's like, I think I'm like quite conscious of saying that, I'm not a healer, because I'm not. But play in itself is healing in any way that you do it, and like honoring your inner child, doing things for her. Because at the end of the day, she just really wanted to know that she's loved and that she's seen and that she's heard. So when you do things that you would have always loved, that's what you're doing for her. Like, you're honoring her. And yeah, it's really special.
Yeah, so cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's that was that was a story I wanted you to share about her. That brought me so much emotion when you
Mm.
shared it with me the other day, and I was like, "You have to. I hope you shared it," because that was just like I can feel the emotion of that. It's just so, yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible. I just love what you're doing, and I just, yeah,
Thank you.
it's so awesome. And on a final note, this is I ask all my beautiful, precious people that spend this time with me, if the world was a stage and you had a mic in your hand, what would you say?
It's never too late to have a happy childhood, and it's never too late to have a happy adulthood.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It's been so fun.
And yeah, if you are in Sydney,
Yes.
you,
My next
yeah,
inner child craft workshop will be at Ariel Bookshop in Paddington. Really beautiful space, and it's going to be on Thursday, the 3rd of July.
woohoo. Ah. So as I sign off from every episode, over and out from Curious Bee.